And hello, everybody! Welcome back to another episode of Sharing Your Journeys. I'm psyched to be here, and I am super excited to have my amazing friend Steve on from the UK because we don't have enough UK buddies on, if I'm honest. I wish more UK people would come on, but that's another story for another day. Um, Steve, hello, welcome. I am
Hello.
gonna basically shush and give you the space. But I just want to say thank you so much for being here. And
Thank
to
you
get it
for having
all
me.
kick-started off, um, please let me ask you, how's your journey start? I'm really intrigued to know this, considering how much I post you and how much I love on you generally on Instagram. It'd be nice to actually hear your backstory.
Okay, cool, crikey. So I'm 50 now this year, and I well, I first got into primarily to tights at the age of 13. So it's been
Oh, wow.
37 years now, and I guess like a lot of people, or especially a lot of guys, going through puberty and that kind of time in your life, and yeah, it happened that time, and it just, I don't know why. I don't know. I can't really remember um, as to why I decided I wanted to try a pair. I really don't, I can't remember at all. But it was my a pair of my mum's.
Hmm.
So yeah, and it just made sense, if that makes sense. It felt right. And so yeah, 13 was when I started, and I remember my mum catching me catching me once. I was like, get those bloody things off. Do you know what I mean? But
No
this was back
way.
in 1988, so times were different then.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and she didn't mean anything by it, but that didn't deter me. So I kind of kept on wearing, and have done pretty much all my life, I guess. Periods where I haven't worn as much, that
Yeah.
kind of thing. I remember I went through a period, probably in my late teens, where I used to only wear hold ups. And I can
No
remember,
way.
like, to the day where I would go to like a supermarket, and there was always like, it was because for a bloke, buying something that isn't necessarily connected to a bloke,
Mm.
it can be quite nerve-wracking. And so I can remember the amount of times I used to go to a supermarket and I would buy some, but I'd always buy toothpaste or like,
Mm.
something else. So it wasn't, the pressure was kind of off a little bit.
Yeah.
It was still bloody nerve wracking, but yeah. So I went through that period, and then I say for the rest of up until about, I'd say about 6 years ago, it was kind of on and off. I would wear, as I say, periods where I didn't, that kind of thing. And from how I feel about them now to how I started, it's completely changed. And I guess that's
Yeah.
getting older. So, like, primarily, and I guess again, for a lot of guys, it might be the case of it being like a fetish
Mm.
when you first start, which it was, I guess, for me. But as kind of that's evolved and my life has evolved now, again with like social media and yourself and promoting men and all that, and other companies doing it, it feels more now like a kind of just an item of clothing.
Yeah.
It always
Yeah.
was,
Yeah.
but I don't know, it's just kind of, it's totally different, and that's, I would assume, just me getting older and stuff. But yeah, so that's kind of where I started from, and it's kind of I've dipped in and out throughout my life. But
Yeah.
now it's kind of like a, I don't want to say full-time occupation, do you know what I mean? But
Mm.
it's kind of, it's part of me now. So and
Yeah.
uh and yeah, so that's kind of where we're at.
Wow. There was a lot in that. There was a lot in that. And I think one thing that I kind of wanted to pick up on, if you don't mind me sort of asking about it, was you mentioned about it being kind of like a fetish in your teens, and
Yeah.
I've not. I've not heard that before. And that really
Oh,
was
okay.
like, oh, that's piqued my interest. Because I think when I've spoken to a lot of people, and I think privately more than openly on here, a lot of people have sort of said,
Yeah.
oh, it's been like a fetish thing. But when they're kind of young adults, and I think when they've kind of tried different things with their partners or wanted to experiment in different ways and stuff. And I think
Mm.
it's interesting hearing it. And I just kind of wanted just to I don't know, maybe ask a bit more about it to be like maybe how was it like how was it perceived as a fetish in your teens? Because I think obviously when you are a teen, it's you are trying a lot of new things, and I think it's just figuring out what you
Yeah,
kind of thought
totally.
about it then.
Yeah, I mean, it's I'd say going through puberty, you kind of experiment, don't you? And
Yeah.
you're kind of finding your place sexually as such.
Mm,
And yeah, I don't know. It was kind of I didn't see it then as something that I wanted to wear because I wanted it as part of my outfit kind of thing, like it is
mm,
now.
mm.
So it was more like it kind of, and for me, it's always been it's like something you're not supposed to have, but you try
Yeah.
it anyway. So
Yeah.
as we all know, in today's society and how our society has gone, you know, tights are always associated with women.
Mm,
So it was the fact that it wasn't meant to be for me that added
yeah.
and that added the appeal and it became exciting, I guess.
Yeah. I'm with
Um,
you.
and and it was kind of I don't want to be too crude, but it was like it helped things if you get my drift
Mm,
kind of
mm.
thing in the way I felt and that kind of while we all experiment and that. And then yeah, so and it was more because it was like naughty. Oh, I'm not supposed to be doing this,
Yes, I'm with you.
it's kind of like oh, and it I guess, you know, because of the type of clothing it is, it's not say for instance, you know, a shirt or a blouse or something. The item of clothing is associated with certain ways of life, if you get my drift,
Mm, mm.
so that adds excitement as well, really. So I guess that's kind of yeah.
Yeah.
It was like the opposite of being what it is now. In that it's for me, it's
Mm.
like clothing, but then it was what people call a fetish. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
if
yeah.
that
I'm
makes
with
sense,
you.
yeah,
Yeah, no, it does. It's kind of like the whole forbidden fruit, isn't it?
yeah,
It's kind
exactly,
of,
yeah,
oh, well, I really shouldn't be doing this, or da, 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 but it's
yeah,
like, okay, let me
totally,
give it a go. No, so I hear that. Another thing actually, yes, that I wanted to ask was you mentioned wearing hold-ups for a period of time. I don't know a lot of men who do hold-ups. Like my main guy, Dave, I know he does, but I think it's just because of um like how tight sit on him and he doesn't really like the
yeah.
restriction or anything. So he prefers hold ups to that sense. But oh my God, talk me through that. And I think that's amazing.
I don't, I don't know. For me, it was just like it was almost from the point of view of being really lazy in that you just pull it up and that's it. You don't have to worry about this
Yeah.
bit up here. Do you know what I mean? Or ribbit rolling down or whatever. And
Yeah.
for you know what I mean. And for a bloke, if you're I used to wear them to work under jeans and stuff like that.
Mm.
And if you're at work, you need to go to the toilet quickly, get out, and it's all right. It's handy.
Yeah.
It's handy. So,
Yeah.
but I don't know. They just kind of, maybe I looked at it from a point of view of they were a bit sexier, or something
Yeah.
like that. But yeah, I went through. It must have been late teens and early 20s for about I don't know 3 4 years, and that's all I would wear. And I remember this is when I still used to live at home and
Yeah.
with my parents. I walked down the shop once and wearing some under jeans, and as it probably happens, a lot of women, one started to slowly roll down, and I was
Yeah.
coming back, and it got to the point it was near my ankle, and I'll never
No.
forget this. And I literally bent down to like pretend I was tying my shoe with cars coming past, and I was
Yeah.
trying to tuck it into my shoe. Do you know what I mean? And oh, that's one of the memories
Yeah.
of kind of wearing them. But yeah, it's just I don't know. It's just something I kind of go through. Uh, like for instance, with music, I go through phases where I love a band. That's all I listened to for like 6 months, and I guess it was
Mm.
kind of like that in a way. It was just something that was right at the time, I guess. So yeah, and then
Yeah.
I still wear them occasionally now, like the pair of yours that I've been wearing, and yeah, it just I prefer tights. Maybe it's just an older thing, maybe. I don't know, but yeah,
Yeah. No, I hear that because I think I won't say like I have a love-hate relationship, but like there are times when I go really hard with hold-ups and I'm like, I just want to be in hold-ups. Like I just like hold-ups. And then there are moments where it's like, oh, okay, yeah, do you know what? I've been in them way too much. I just need to, I
yeah,
want to
yeah,
be back in tights again. So I do definitely get that. But it's really interesting to hear that you were in that, you were into them at like quite a young age. Because once again,
yeah. It
people
must,
that I've spoken to, it's always been kind of
yeah,
later on in life.
yeah. It must have been say about 18, 19, maybe. I think, yeah. And I mean, yeah, I mean, I think they're cool. I don't wear them so much now. I think I bought some a while ago, and the quality was terrible. So I think,
Mm,
especially with how they're designed and their function as such, in staying up, it has to be good quality. Otherwise,
yeah,
you ain't got no hope. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's just, yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I just at that period, I was just hot on them, and it was just like, okay, so I just went with
Yeah, it
it.
was just one of those things. One of those
Yeah.
things. So I did want to ask you, and obviously whatever you're comfortable answering and everything, but I'm just thinking, so obviously because a lot of this happened like when you were in your teens, mid-teens, late teens, early kind of 20s and everything. And I'm just thinking in terms of like dating and everything, was like a hosiery a part of that, or was that something that, do you know what, I just want to keep this to myself. I don't want to kind of mention anything to anyone, or was it just actually I'm embracing it. It's just a piece of clothing. Let's just it doesn't matter
Yeah.
kind of thing.
It kind of it was half and half really. I guess it just depended
Mm,
who it was. There was some
get you.
previous girlfriends that knew um, that weren't bothered, didn't bother. Do you know what I mean? They weren't not they weren't interested, but they weren't. It didn't didn't affect them or
Mm,
make them feel any different or anything like that. And I never kind of forced it. It was kind of it just was something that came out, for whatever reason.
yeah.
Um, and then my ex-wife knew as well, um, who I was with her for 14 years, married to her for 14 years, and
Yeah.
she accepted it. She didn't encourage.
Mm,
That's a whole nother video, but it's kind of, but where I am now, with my current partner, um, she's polar opposites, and I couldn't find a more encouraging person. Do you know what I mean? And
yeah.
she often says to me that the one thing she loves about me is she lets me be me, and in
Yeah.
turn, that's what I love about her. Um,
Yeah.
and interestingly, we actually met through a love of tights. So I met my current partner on Instagram,
Yeah.
and she sent me a message, or she made a comment, I think, on one of my pictures saying, um, it was tongue in cheek kind of, do you have permission to wear those? And then from
Oh
that moment
yeah.
is the rest is history kind of thing. And we've been together since, or it was about a year after that we kind of got
Yeah.
together. But yeah, so it's weird. But I used to work with people, a couple of girls that knew I wore and didn't bother
Mm,
them. And most people that I kind of come across, some of my partner's friends know, have seen
mm.
me, don't, it's pair of clothes. It's an item of clothing. What does it matter?
Yeah.
So um, yeah, but I've never had anybody think, "Oh, God, that's absolutely disgusting." You know what I mean,
Mm.
or anything like that. So the people have always been, with regards to relationships, have been always been pretty cool. So yeah, perhaps I've been lucky. I don't know. I hear, excuse me, I talk to a lot of guys, on like Instagram and stuff who wear
Mm.
and they're in the position I was 6 years ago. You know what I mean? And it's stupid.
Mm.
It's kind of there's more things to life than worrying about if you know what I mean. If my partner said I want to start wearing boxer shorts, I'd be like, okay, if
Yeah.
that's what you want. So in my life, I've never come across a big barrier as such
Mm.
where I know like other guys. Well, apart from say, there's a slight barrier with my ex-wife, but
Mm.
more so other guys get more the bigger barrier as such.
Yeah.
So it's always been pretty cool, thankfully, which is nice.
Yeah. No, honestly, that's really nice to hear because I think that's the thing with the amount of people that not only have I had on the episodes, but spoken to in DMs and email and stuff. And you are right, like they have had bigger barriers, where all partners haven't supported or they've had to hide the fact that they wear and, you know, family
Yeah,
and friends were like, what's going on? Do you know what I mean? It's like they couldn't be their
yeah,
fully
totally.
like authentic selves. And I can only imagine how much that can hinder a person. So hearing the fact that actually like it's been okay most of the time, it's quite nice to think like actually there are people out there who probably don't have it as hard, and it's there's a bit of yes, it
I think
happens, but actually
yeah, I think things are like, obviously changing now. Do you know what I mean? Like with your say
mm,
with yourself, with other companies that happily promote guys wearing tights and
mm,
stuff. I think and as time goes on, I think personally, I think it will get better. I don't. I mean, again, it might be my age. I think it's so ingrained into us as a as human beings of the way certain things have always been. Men wear the
mm,
trousers, women's wear the skirt.
yeah,
It's been like that for so long that I think it would take a hell of a long time to turn that around. But I think it will eventually. Um,
mm,
Maybe not in my lifetime, but I think it would definitely eventually happen. And that's cool. And why not? It's not like, I always used to think to myself, if someone ever came up to me and said, "Oh, why are you wearing a pair of tights?" You know, I'd be like, "Well, I'm not going robbing and knifing someone. I'm
yeah,
seriously, it's common sense. You know what I mean? It's
yeah,
like, what the hell is wrong with it? I don't, it doesn't bother me if someone was walking down the street in a pink tutu, like a bloke, and, green hair. Well, good for him. You
mm,
know, it's none of my business, first and foremost. And why should it be? And and
yeah.
obviously we would expect the same back. But as society is, it's not always the case. So sorry to get
Yeah.
deep on you there.
No, it's all right. By all means, by all means. But no, you are right. I think it is just at the end of the day, if you're not hurting anybody else or harming anyone else, it's what does it
Exactly.
matter kind
Yeah.
of thing. And I
Yeah.
think I think that's the biggest thing. I think it's especially um where was I? I'm sure I think it was literally central London that I no, it was actually, yeah, because it was last weekend. And I remember I was walking through like Soho and Notting Hill and going all across there, and there were so many different walks of life, and it was beautiful. And you think, oh my
Yeah.
God,
Totally.
like this is so nice. People are just minding their own. Everyone's just enjoying life. And then
Yeah.
it is, I
That's it.
think, yeah, and I think it's when I kind of went out of there and kind of went more towards, for instance, Oxford Street, Regent Street, all around this kind of shopping area. Then you'd kind of like, you'd see stag groups, and yeah, naturally they'll dress a stag as a woman or whatever. But it'll
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
it'll be like, you just think that's acceptable, isn't it? Because it's a stag do, like, oh, it doesn't matter because da da da. And I was like, but it shouldn't matter
that
anyway.
kind of,
Like if
I,
a man wanted to dress
yeah,
as a woman.
I know what you mean. And that kind of, I was thinking about earlier. I was thinking about like companies like yourself that promote men wearing, and there was one company that I was thinking of that I used to buy a lot of tights from,
Mm,
like a hell of a lot, and I always got the impression from them they were pro men wearing and all that kind of thing.
mm,
And then I kind of went off them a bit because it always seemed to be like a very over the top, stereotypical gay guy wearing a
yeah,
pair of tights, and like
yeah.
I'm heterosexual, but I still wear
Mm,
tights, but I know I'm not like, I'm a bit Jesus-y, shall we say, so um I wouldn't be
I
maybe
love
the
that.
most typical person, and they never had that.
Mm,
It was always the very typical, and I was like, no,
yes.
you can go off on your own. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
and they're trying to make it acceptable, but in a, like you say,
yeah.
a stag do kind of way where it is acceptable, if that makes sense.
Yeah, a
But yeah,
hundred percent.
you
Hundred
know,
percent. I actually had this conversation with someone actually I met at networking the other week, and oh, I really had to hold my tongue, honest to God, at some point. But it was very much because they obviously said, oh yeah, oh, you're one of those companies that promotes men. I'm like, okay. And I
yeah,
was like, let's see where you go with this. And it is like she mentioned companies where it is your stereotypical male. It's very, they've got a ripped body, they're
yeah, yeah,
model-like material. And I'm like, well,
totally.
this is where you're wrong because I don't want model men. I want real men. I want men with dad bods. I want hairy men. I want, men who have got like really stick thin legs. I want men who have got really big legs. I want
Mm.
your everyday man. And I think that's this is what I mean. I really had to hold my tongue back when she was talking because then she was like, but how is that gonna sell? And I'm like, what don't you get? Because then I literally had to
My
say
God,
to her,
yeah, that would
honest to
sell
God.
more. You know what I
Honest
mean?
to God, it was just this is why I was like, calm it down. But I literally had to say to her, think about the Dove women's advert. You see all these different walks of life of women. I was like, you see different bodies, different
Yeah,
ethnicities.
yeah, yeah,
And she's like, oh yeah, I love that. And I'm like, well, you're saying you love this about men wearing, but it's got to be that type of man wearing. And I was like, well, what
yeah.
about that guy over there? Or what about our facilitators today? And it was I did get very het up, I'm not gonna lie, but
And that's
it
and that's because
really,
I was going to say, sorry, that's because that
okay.
is ingrained in her. Do you know
Mm,
what I mean? That way of thinking over centuries of when we've been
yeah.
here. And I think by after generation after generation after generation, that's going to shrink down
Mm.
and eventually it will be gone. So, but yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you,
No,
but
no, it's
yeah,
okay. It's okay. But yeah, and I think that's why I'm glad I held my tongue with it because it was just no, look, like even though I was on a point proving mission, I think it
yeah,
was
yeah,
actually no, it's more about her than it is about me. Like, look, I do what I do and I'm so proud of my brand and my business and what I stand for and everything. And I think it's just I can only educate others. I can only be like, look, well, this is how I promote my men. This is how I promote all my customers and this is
yeah,
what
yeah.
I want versus other brands. I'm not saying anyone's right or wrong, but I just feel if you're gonna I have a stance on if you're gonna be inclusive of everybody. Do you know what I mean? It's just a bit like it's
It's
like your
very
everyday
it's
woman.
it's very good marketing. You know what I mean?
Mm,
It's
mm,
which is a shame
yeah.
because I don't know much about marketing, but the classic image is always theoretically going to outshine
Yeah.
a bloke over here who's hairy, and which is wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And with yourself doing what you do, you're kind of
Mm,
breaking that and telling them, nah, no, it should be. You
yeah.
know what I mean? Which is great.
Yeah, I think this is why I'm really passionate and I always become more passionate about it because it's when you do see things like that or when you do hear things like that and it's like oh you just gave me my motivation just to go harder with what I do kind of
Yeah,
thing. So
totally, totally. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, that's
but
it.
it's sad the fact that I mean you are right. I think it's one of those. I think with time it could change, and I'm hoping it will change.
Mm.
But I think it's yeah. I think we've still got a bit of a way to go, and I think having brands like myself and obviously others out there that I do support as well, trying to change that narrative really does help in today's kind of society. But you are
Totally.
right. I think it
Yeah,
still will take a bit of time to get that ingraining that's happened for years and years and years to
yeah, that's it.
just be like, oh
Yeah,
yeah, 100%,
yeah. And it
100%.
all started with us anyway, as we all know, as in men, wearing them first and all that
Mm,
argument.
mm.
So
Oh
it'll
yeah, I
go
hear that.
like everything, it'll go full circle. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so yeah,
Yeah, no, I hear that. I hear that. Well, do you know what? This actually like was wrapping up quite well actually, because I was going to say we're literally coming to time,
cool.
but I wanted to say I love this conversation with you, Steve. I think it was absolutely brilliant.
So
And
thank you.
it'd definitely be awesome to do like a part two at some point, just to sort of see
Yeah,
how your
yeah,
journey's going and delving into
yeah,
different kind of topics and stuff.
cool.
One thing I did want to ask you that obviously I ask everybody, especially when they do the first part, is if you had any advice or a message that you'd like to leave our viewers or our listeners, what would that message be?
It would probably be just don't wait to do something. If and don't care
Mm,
what anyone thinks. Do you know what I mean? It's none of their business, whatnot. And half the time it's your own paranoia. You know,
mm,
so just go for it, and whatever age, don't wait until you think, I'll do that when I'm older or whatnot. Because trust me, you
yeah.
get to that older place and you can't you can't do it, for whatever reason. So yeah, just and trust your gut. If you think it feels right,
Mm,
then it does. But yeah, just don't worry about anyone else and just go for it, really. So
yeah.
that's
I like
which I
that.
kind of did myself, but undercovers as such. But
Mm,
yeah, I wish I'd kind of be more, for want of a better word, out about it than what I, earlier on. But
mm,
life is what it is. But yeah, just go and do what you want to do. Someone else's business.
yeah. No, I love that. Thank you. And I think the one thing that hit me then actually was if it feels right, go with your gut and just
Yeah,
and roll with it kind of thing. And I think
totally.
a lot of us don't do that. So it's nice hearing that actually. It's a nice little reminder.
But otherwise you end up fighting against yourself. Oh, should I do that?
Yeah.
Or I really want to do it. Oh no, but should I do it?
Mm,
And
mm.
then, 3 years are gone. Oh, what have you done? Nothing.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
I hear that. I
kind
hear
of.
that. I can relate.
So we only get one
Yeah.
life, so we have to live it, as they
Yeah,
say.
no, I agree. I definitely agree with that. And I just want to say thank you, Steve. Honestly, it's been such a pleasure having you on. And it's
Thank
what I mean,
you.
like I
Yeah.
love posting you and it's just nice just to actually have the time to have that conversation with you as well. So thank you so
No,
much.
thank you as well. And my avatar is pretty good at it. It's pretty.
Honestly, your avatar is spot on. It's spot on. Literally.
I was like, shit. I was like, there's a camera in here somewhere looking at me. Do you know what I mean? It's like, how did they know I look like that? Do you know what I mean?
Oh
So,
gosh.
there you go. But no,
Honestly.
thank you,
No, thank
Sonny.
you.
It's been great.
Honestly, yeah. It's been such a pleasure having you on and hearing your story and plus like I said, it's just nice to have someone from the UK as well. Like especially in hometown. It's just nice when it's hometown. You're like, oh, there's more UK
Yeah,
people
great.
out there than we kind of think. So
Oh God,
it's
yeah, yeah,
it's
totally.
nice. Yeah,
That's it.
100%. Right, well, thank you so much, Steve, once again. And yes, we'll definitely be in talks for part two at some
Yeah, definitely.
point.
Yeah.
And until for now, well, yeah, until next time, really. And thank you so much for coming on. And yeah, I really can't wait for part two. I keep talking about it. It's like actually, I can't wait to do part two with you. So yeah, so
Yeah,
thank you
just let me
so
know,
much
and
for coming on.
I can take a day off again. So I don't mind doing that at all.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, that'd be
So,
fun. Yeah, that'd be fun.
but
Actually, yeah, I
yeah,
was gonna say if you weren't too far, oh my God, imagine doing it in person. That'd be so cool. That'd be a
whereabouts
dream.
whereabouts are you? Are you
So
up north, aren't you?
I'm London. I'm like London ways,
Oh,
but
okay.
we can talk. But we can talk. We can find a mutual place and potentially make this happen in person. So
Yeah, that'd be
we
cool.
will
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
talk.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice one. All
Yeah.
right.
Right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, as well, for watching. And if you do have any questions for Steve, please do hit us up. Either let me know, Steve, know, or drop them in the comment section, and we can always get them answered in part two. But for now, thank you so much for watching and listening. And until next time, my loves.